Hello and welcome to the program. I am Suren. This time I would like to talk to you a little bit more about happiness. Although the individual components, such as love, enlightenment, success, and good health, certainly contribute to a sensual well-being and happiness, the general notion of happiness remains multifaceted and is very subjective. These elements certainly can enhance happiness, but they do not necessarily equal it. In reality, happiness is influenced by a broad range of factors, such as subjective well-being, personality, as well as social support. You might ask me, talk to us about love and happiness, as we did before. Let us not forget that strong social connections and positive relationships are crucial for overall well-being and happiness. Most definitely, offering emotional support and resilience. What about enlightenment as it is considered with Buddhism and Hinduism? That's a good question. Enlightenment can be seen as a deeper understanding of oneself and the world, which can lead to a greater sense of peace and contentment, possibly leading towards absolute happiness. We know that it means a lot of things to many different people, but what can you say about success? That's a good question. Achieving goals and feeling a sense of accomplishment can boost confidence and create a feeling of happiness, especially when it is in line with one's own values. And a good health? Well, physical and mental health are truly the essential foundations for happiness, as they permit individuals to fully enjoy their lives and engage in meaningful activities. Okay, let us then consider happiness as a whole, shall we? Happiness is a complex concept, as it has been said before, and encompasses subjective well-being, positive emotions, engagements, good relationships, meaning, accomplishment, and satisfaction. It is really a subjective experience that can be affected by various factors beyond just the elements we mentioned before. In essence, while love, enlightenment, success, and good health are significant contributors to a positive life, happiness is a broader concept, composing a variety of factors and personal experiences. I don't know if you have heard of, but I will tell you, of Susan McQuillan, who contributes in Psychology Today. That's the magazine you might be considering. There she considers the connection between love, happiness, and good health, as she states. To stay healthy, fight stress, and live longer, strive for solid relationships. She considers the key points as follows. similar to what I would suggest. Supportive mind-body interventions help reduce stress and keep people well. Love, in its many forms, surely can help buffer one's reaction to stressful situations. Social relationships with friends, family, and community members have a very personal relationship to feel loved and supported. Practitioners of mind-body medicine or MBM have long suggested that we can limit the negative effects of chronic stress and promote overall well-being by taking steps to ensure we live a happier, healthier, and more socially connected life. An article reviewing all the research on MBM and other aspects of life that support good health, published by researchers from the German Institute of Integrative Healthcare and Health Promotion, confirms that common MBM tools, treatments, and interventions that help put you in a positive emotional state, along with love, social connections, and happiness, can reduce the effects of stress and support your overall health and well-being. Those practices include mindfulness techniques, cognitive, behavioral, and positive psychology, good nutrition, physical activity, relaxation techniques, meditation, and other physical, psychological, spiritual, and cultural interventions. These stress-reducing behaviors and practices improve mental and physical health by increasing the sense of rootedness, groundedness, love, compassion, strength, and empathy we all can feel within ourselves, as well as the connectivity we sense towards others. Unresolved or uncontrolled stress can lead to overreaction in challenging situations and overproduction of stress hormones in the body, which can then negatively impact all aspects of our health. Excessive stress hormones can interfere with cognitive functions such as memory, learning, and flexibility. At the same time, feeling as though you lack the ability or resources you need to cope with, adapt to, or de-escalate life's circumstances. Many challenges can truly be very stressful and in and of itself, and can lead to a physical, psychological, emotional, and even social issues. The research has found that love in its many forms, social connection, and happiness define simply a feeling of personal well-being and are all interconnected as well as associated with reduced stress and increased social activity that can ultimately lead to improvements to mental and physical health. It is said, love encompasses romantic love, love for family and friends, or love for a pet or pets, and can extend to love for specific places, material objects, such as a beautiful car, and favorite activities. Love is being described as feelings of attraction, attachment, passion, trust, and enjoyment, all of which stimulate reward centers in the brain that reinforce feelings of pleasure. We can then truly say, when love is not stressful, its calming influence can promote a state of relaxation that assists tolerance to buffer or even balance a potentially overactive stress response. That's a good point. Let us then consider the social connectedness, the degree of which you feel connected to and hopefully supported by your family, friends, and community, has well-established mental and physical health benefits and even proven to be a predictor of longevity in both healthy individuals and those who suffer from chronic diseases. That is why it is vitally important to continue building and sustaining social relationships throughout your life. Not like in a cult of Jehovah. Now, I'd like to talk to you about happiness, optimism, laughter, agreeableness, and an extroverted, easygoing, or other positive personality types have all been found to reduce the risk of the early death in healthy people, though the effect on people with chronic illnesses is still unclear. An important measure of happiness is in your subjective well-being, or how you perceive and experience your own life, rather than how anyone else sees it. Your personality, socio-economic status, health, and level of social support are just some of the factors that can determine your subjective well-being and, by extension, your overall health. Overall, the research is concluded that when efforts are made to promote a positive psychological state, which encompasses all aspects of love, social connection, and general happiness, your overall well-being is improved, and you may indeed live longer. Go out for a walk with friends, or to a dance. Because happiness can be considered essential to overall health and well-being, as the research suggests that future studies need be considered, which recommends health interventions, contributing, obviously, to an individual's level and perception of happiness. They say it is also imperative to consider the impacts of spirituality, culture, motivation, and access to support systems on love, social connectivity, health, and happiness. The goal of mind-body medicine, after all, is to enhance overall well-being, in greater part by reducing negative responses to stress that can lead to physical and indeed mental disorders. As with what Martin Seligman, who also made mention, the premise of positive psychology is that well-being can be defined, it can be measured, and it can be taught. Well-being includes positive emotions, intense engagements, good relationships, meaning, and accomplishment. Let's call it PERMA or PERMA. He also suggested that a special questionnaire can measure it. Trainers can teach it, and achieving it not only makes people more fulfilled, it is also what makes corporations more productive, soldiers more resilient, and students more engaged, marriages more happier. He even came up with a formula: H equals S plus C plus V. In fact, happiness equals your genetic set point plus the circumstances of your life plus factors under voluntary controller. Psychologists have discovered that humans tend to remember unsolved problems, frustrations, and failures more than their successes. Strange, but true. This is also called the negative bias. Most recently described by John Tierney and Roy Boymaster in their 2019 book, The Power of Bad: How the Negativity Effect Rules Us and How We Can Rule It. Positive psychologists counsel: find pessimism, remember the good advice, count your blessings, focus on strength, reframe the way you look at reality and your life. It is an upbeat philosophy suitable for a Western world that, he insists, is getting better and better, an alternative to the catastrophic thinking required over our Stone Age ancestors. It is also an alternative, as he believes, to the epidemic of depression, poisoning American or any other life, and what it causes our age of melancholy. However, the Americans need to focus less on gross national product, more on national well-being. In January 2000, he and his colleagues issued a manifesto in the magazine American Psychologist. Psychology is not just a branch of medicine concerned with illnesses or health. It is much larger. It is about work, education, insight, love, growth, and play. I like previous promises on happiness. Positive psychology, which insists that it is evidence-based, using the resources of contemporary social science, surveys, longitude studies, analysis, animal experiments, brain imaging, hormone measuring, and case studies as we read. More recently, he has turned to big data analysis of words in Facebook and on social media. He and his team have created a curriculum of positivity. They have measured the impact of training and the surprising benefits of learned optimism. You may consider using the principles of positive psychology. Metropolitan Life Insurance Company recruited in the States the most effective salespeople, those who would not give up after repeated rejection. West Point predicted, as we further read, like young soldiers which would drop out the barracks after the notoriously difficult summer introduction to military life. However, soldiers in the field recovered more quickly from PTSD. On the other hand, Australian school children became less anxious and more engaged after intensive training in the basics of positive psychology. Optimism projects success on the playing field. With learned optimism, patients with heart disease can live longer. Seligman claims happiness does not just feel good, it is good. Now, who would not agree with him? People with strong relationships live longer. They are happier and healthier too, according to an 85-year-old Harvard study. The longest study of happiness ever conducted concludes that social fitness is as important as physical fitness. Well, a survey by the World Economic Forum found that staying healthy in later life was the top concern and priority for most people. Many scientists say we are all living longer, and which sounds like good news. But the prospect of lifespan stretching to almost or beyond 100 years has prompted new worries about health, wealth, and happiness in later life. A survey by the World Economic Forum and Mercer for their report on living longer, better, understanding of longevity, literacy, found out staying healthy in later life was the top concern and priority for most people, followed by having enough buying power and enjoying life. While the report recommends a range of strategies to prepare us for a multi-stage life experience, in which the traditional concept of retirement is replaced by a mixture of leisure, volunteering, and work, there may be a simpler answer to it. The latest discovery, as we discover, from what is believed to be the longest study into human happiness, suggests that the secret of a long and healthy life lies in forging and maintaining good, close friendships, relationships, and health with other people. Scientists at Harvard University, like many others, have been seeking the key to a happy life since 1938, in the longest study into happiness ever conducted. After about 85 years of research, they have concluded that it is our relationships with other people that give us the greatest happiness. Clearly then, research suggests that good social relationships can have a positive impact on mental health, leading to a better overall well-being and potentially contributing to a longer life, says Shyam Bishen, head of the Center for Health and Healthcare at the World Economic Forum. Strong social connections can also provide emotional support, reduce stress, and increase feelings of happiness and belonging, which in turn may have beneficial effects on physical health and promote a longer and healthier life, says Bishen. What about the problems with opposition to the other race and other nationalities and languages? It turns out that what people miss when they stop working at the end of their careers is not the work itself, but their workplace relationships. So the report urges workers and people in general to focus on building good relationships with colleagues and friends while they are still at work, or at college, or at school. The people who were happiest was a state of the healthiest as they grew old, and who lived the longest were the people who had the warmest and best connections with other people, said Professor Robert Waldinger, the current director of the study. Briefly, the concept and measure of happiness. We can talk about is that the most enlightened thinkers use the term happiness in the broad sense of living a good life, to which we referred today, using the terms well-being and quality of life. Used in this broad sense, the word is an umbrella, as it has been said, which covers several different qualities of life. We can distinguish 4 different qualities of life elsewhere on the basis of 2 distinctions. As we read, a difference between chances for a good life and actual outcomes of life, and a distinction between qualities in the environment and qualities in oneself. Together, these 2 bipartitions provide the full qualities of life. Just consider. Happiness is the degree to which a person enjoys his or her present life as a whole. In other words, how much the person likes the life he or she leads. Life satisfaction is a synonym. The concept of happiness denotes an overall evaluation of life. So the appraisal that life exciting or is exciting does not mark it being happy. It may be too much excitement in one's life and too little of other qualities. The overall evaluation of life involves all the criteria figuring in the mind of an individual, how good they feel, how well their life meets their expectations, and so forth. The objective evaluation is life as a whole, not a specific domain of life, such as work life or school life. Enjoyment of work will add to an individual the appreciation of life, but does not constitute appreciation of their whole or entire lives. Appraisals of life can concern different periods of time. How life has been, how it is now, and how it will probably be in the future. These evaluations do not coincide necessarily. One may be positive about one's past life, but negative about the future. The focus on this paper is on satisfaction with present life. When appraising how much we appreciate the life we live, withdraw and 2 sources of information. So it is written. 1. How well we feel generally, and 2. How well our life as it is compares to standard of how life should be. These sub-appraisals are seen as components of happiness, respectively the affective component, as it was mentioned before, called hedonic level of effect, and the cognitive component called contentment. This distinction or difference is discussed in more detail, together with a theory about difference in the determinants of these components. We know that happiness cannot be measured, like measuring blood pressure, for instance. For like most attitudes, phenomenon of happiness is only partially reflected in behavior. Though some social behaviors tend to be more frequent among the happy. For instance, active, outgoing, friendly. Such conduct is also observed among unhappy persons. Likewise, non-verbal behaviors such as frequent smiling or enthusiastic movements appear to be only modestly related to self-report of happiness. Consequently, estimates of someone's happiness made by peers can be wrong. Agreeingly, suicidal behavior is probably more indicative of happiness. Almost all people who attempt to or who commit suicide are unhappy. However, not all the unhappy resort to suicide as a way out of situation. In fact, only a fraction does. Since happiness cannot be measured, we can only do one thing, and that is question people about how they feel. How satisfied or dissatisfied are they currently with their lives as a whole? Anyway, that brings us to the end of this episode. We shall meet you again in here by the next episode. And so, keep smiling and be very, very happy. Thank you.